Hello and welcome to another update video about Bitcoin. We start on the daily time frame briefly. We discussed it quite a few times in the last few days and weeks because it's so relevant, but also because new viewers coming in need to know where we are heading. So primary wave count main scenario is still here, the white wave count, in which the price is forming a so-called, or did form actually, a so-called 1-2-1-2 setup, which is quite bullish. There are quite a few ways how this down here can be counted, but certainly we have impulses to the upside. The question is it just one larger impulse in a wave 1 with the larger wave 2, or is it a 1-2-1-2 setup? You can even count it as 3 1-2 setups, but I find that a bit too bullish, a bit too optimistic. And also the last decline here that was in September, it retraced basically nearly the entire length of what would be the wave 1, which would have been here with a peak in July. So I don't see that as a trustworthy scenario or a trustworthy wave count. Therefore, my perspective remains that this is a 1-2-1-2 setup. I think it's a good balance between bullishness and, but not trying to push a too bullish scenario, which is basically not so reliable due to near invalidation. I think on some exchanges it's been invalidated this last 1-2, or maybe only on the futures charts, which it's a different market, right? Okay, so if we then say, okay, wave 2 bottomed here in September around the 11th, then a third wave to the upside would be unfolding right now. The third wave is probably characterized by shallow retracements only. You see the subdivisions here, and even in the white wave count, it's following here the yellow subdivisions, you could say, where we had a wave 1, a wave 2. This year was likely a 3, and then we're now in the 4, which could still come a little lower. Important is to understand the key support, which is at $34,060, and then the move to the upside could be a wave 5, and that might finish off larger degree wave 3, or actually, and that's the second scenario, an A wave after a correction. A, B, C could also be a corrective rally. There's no way of saying that right now, what exactly it is. Is it an ABC or is it a 1-2-1-2 setup? I just can highlight to you the risk that after the next high, we could see a deeper pullback, but my primary scenario will remain the white wave count, which is the more direct bullish pathway. And we will track good support levels along the way. In this scenario, we have very clearly defined support levels, which is the advantage, because in the white scenario, we should see only shallow pullbacks. Now, if we see a deep pullback, basically would tell us that it's likely the yellow wave count. And then we can distinguish them and then base our future analysis based on that. But the analysis or the scenarios give us very, very clear pivot points where we can distinguish between the white and the yellow count, which is really, really, really helpful and very important for risk management going forward. But both ideally send us higher in a bullish market. The only thing is that obviously in the yellow count, when that one plays out, I will also have to put a more bearish alternative onto the chart. Below $19,000, we will have to expect new bear market lows. That's how I see it right now. This level will likely go up a little bit if the price pushes higher, even in the yellow count. That means in both white and yellow counts at the moment, both would look better with one more high. Okay, both would look better with one more high. So I can't promise that to you, but the idea is that this is a support area that ideally in both scenarios for now generates a positive response, and that the price will move up from there to complete wave A or wave 3. And I said to you earlier in the week that this correction is likely going to take all week. It's taken all week. I think it's still not finished as it seems, okay, but time-wise it was supposed to take a little while. Okay, so we saw that very early in the week with the price action, when the price, and this is now the zoomed in perspective, this is when the price formed this double bottom down here. It's not a real double bottom, but this price action indicated that we can see more corrective price action throughout the week. And I think this has obviously come true. So as you can see, it's a beautiful correction that's currently playing out. So well, you can say beautiful or not, but it's an A wave down. A lot of people waited for a pullback. So it's going to be funny if people don't act here, okay, and you know, do what they want to do with their portfolio and maybe add a position or something. And then when we go up higher, they ask for the next pullback. So this is the pullback that many asked for. So we had this A wave down. You know, we are probably in this B wave I wanted to see, and this is growing nicely and in a very healthy way. Yeah, you like to see a healthy B wave ideally, yeah, and then because otherwise it gives a very weak impression. What we don't want at this stage is that this chart turns impulsive to the downside. So A wave, B wave, and then ideally another C wave to the downside. This B wave can obviously take various forms, so we have to be very flexible. We cannot really, let's say, be too focused and fixed on one particular wave count. I show you these for educational purposes. The micro counts are definitely not recommendations to trade, or not in a correction, absolutely not. As I say very often, corrections are there for capital preservation and for planning your next move. They're not necessarily for trading the microstructures, because you can get twists and turns at everywhere basically, yeah. While the market is typically still adhering to Fibonacci levels, they are less well respected in corrections, and also there are more possibilities, so making it eventually much less certain, and well, it adds to uncertainty basically in corrections, okay? Especially B waves, which are the corrective waves within corrections. You want to stay away from them normally. So, but within this B wave, we could get another extension higher. There are in reality numerous ways how this can play out in the correction, okay? That doesn't affect at all the larger time frame count, which is much more relevant. This is literally just to track what needs to happen to call the correction complete, and what is our support, which is still down there at $34,070. I mean, I see a potential triangle shape, but I'm not ready to count it as an Elliott Wave triangle. But if we see a little bit more price action sideways over the weekend, I might call it a triangle. I currently see this as an ABC structure, and the B wave could be unfolding in a more complex WXY, and this Y wave might reach 44,710 if it breaks above the trend line. I'd like to see a break above that trend line, and then it's likely targeting 44,710. That's at least sort of a key level. It could also go a bit higher. I mean, the entire resistance area there is really relevant for that circle wave B up there. And it goes all the way up to $46,520. But when we get that high, obviously the question will be, okay, is the wave 4 already finished? Which is technically, of course, possible. I just don't have any evidence for that. If that was the case, it would be moving up in some kind of a diagonal structure, which is not a high probability structure, because it can easily be a correction as well. So for now, what I can tell you though, is that I have no evidence at all at this stage that circle wave B is complete. So we need to keep the door open for higher, while overall in this correction, the wave 4 is ideally forming a larger corrective ABC structure and another C wave down eventually. Yeah, that's my update about Bitcoin. Hope you liked the update. If you did, please hit the like button, leave a comment and subscribe. And if you really like the content, then please check out the channel membership. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.